There is a moment almost every parent knows. Your toddler is crying, not softly, not politely, but with their entire body. Their face is red, their breathing is sharp and uneven, their hands are clenched. You try to talk, you explain, you offer choices. Nothing lands. If anything, the crying escalates. And somewhere in your mind, a quiet question forms. Why can't they just calm down? Most parents never say this question out loud. It feels uncomfortable. It sounds like judgment. But it isn't. It's confusion. And beneath that confusion is exhaustion. What if the most important thing to understand about toddlers is this? They are not failing at emotional regulation. They are still building it. Not learning it, not choosing it, building it. And building something this complex inside a developing human brain takes years, not days, not months, not even early childhood. To understand emotional regulation in toddlers, we have to step away from behavior charts, discipline debates, and internet advice, and step into the brain itself. Because emotional regulation is not a skill toddlers have, it's a neurological process that is still under construction. Modern neuroscience, particularly research emerging from Harvard's Center on the Developing Child, has made one thing clear. Early emotional behavior is driven far more by brain architecture than by personality, intention, or parenting style. In other words, when a toddler melts down, the issue is not a lack of listening, it's a lack of neural integration. A toddler's brain is growing faster in the first 3 years of life than at any other time. By age 3, the brain reaches nearly 80% of its adult size. But size is not function, and growth is not coordination. The regions responsible for emotional intensity, particularly the amygdala and limbic system, are highly active in early childhood. These areas are designed to detect threat, novelty, frustration, and unmet needs. They fire quickly and powerfully. But the regions responsible for calming those emotions, the prefrontal cortex, are immature, underconnected, and slow. This imbalance is not a flaw, it is the design. Oxford research on emotional cognition shows that self-regulation depends on communication between emotional centers and executive control networks. In toddlers, those communication pathways are still forming. Myelination, the process that insulates neural pathways and makes signals travel efficiently, is incomplete. So, when a toddler feels overwhelmed, their emotional brain floods the system. The regulatory brain simply cannot keep up. This is why emotional regulation in toddlers looks so different from emotional regulation in adults. It is not internal, it is external. Toddlers borrow regulation. They borrow it from the nervous systems around them. This process is known as co-regulation, and it is one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern parenting. Co-regulation does not mean permissiveness. It does not mean giving in. It does not mean avoiding boundaries. It means that before a child can regulate themselves, they must experience regulation with someone else. Longitudinal studies following children from infancy into adulthood show that children who experience consistent emotional attunement, not perfection, not constant calm, but reliable repair, develop stronger self-regulation later in life. This is not theory, it is measurable in brain imaging, stress hormone patterns, and long-term emotional resilience. What most parents are told is that calming down is a choice. What science shows is that calming down is a capacity, and capacity develops through repeated experiences of safety during emotional intensity. This is where many parents feel stuck, because you might understand the science, but in the moment when your child is screaming in a grocery store or collapsing on the floor at bedtime, your own nervous system is activated too. Parenting burnout is not a personal failure, it's a physiological response. The same systems that are dysregulated in toddlers are often dysregulated in parents, especially in modern environments that are overstimulating, fast-paced, and emotionally demanding. Harvard research on toxic stress emphasizes that chronic activation of the stress response without adequate buffering affects both children and adults. And parents today are navigating more information, more pressure, and less communal support than at any point in recent history. This matters because emotional regulation is contagious. Nervous systems synchronize. A regulated adult nervous system provides an anchor. A dysregulated adult nervous system amplifies chaos, even with the best intentions. This is not about blaming parents. It's about understanding the system we are all operating inside. When a toddler is emotionally overwhelmed, their body shifts into survival mode. Stress hormones increase, heart rate rises, breathing changes, language centers go offline. This is why reasoning doesn't work during a meltdown. This is why lectures fail. This is why rewards and consequences feel useless in the moment. The brain is not in a state where learning is possible. The American Academy of Pediatrics emphasizes that emotional regulation is a developmental process that unfolds over time, shaped by relationships, not reactions. What toddlers need during emotional dysregulation is not correction. They need containment. Containment means your presence communicates safety even when their emotions are big. It sounds simple, it is not easy, because containment asks parents to do something that is rarely modeled: stay grounded in the presence of distress. Most of us were taught to stop emotions, not to hold them. So when our children express anger, fear, or sadness intensely, it triggers our own learned discomfort. This is why parents often feel guilt after reacting harshly, even when they intellectually know their child is young. That guilt is not a sign you're failing, it's a sign that your values are ahead of your nervous system. And this is where repair becomes more important than perfection. Repair is not an apology speech, it's a return to connection after disconnection. Research in attachment theory shows that it is not the absence of rupture that predicts emotional health, it is the presence of repair. Children who experience rupture followed by repair learn something profound. Emotions do not destroy relationships. That lesson becomes the foundation of emotional regulation. Because regulation is not about suppressing feelings, it's about trusting that feelings can be survived. When toddlers repeatedly experience adults who stay present through emotional storms, their brains slowly learn to internalize that calm. Neural pathways strengthen, stress responses shorten, emotional recovery speeds up. This is why emotional regulation in toddlers cannot be rushed. You cannot discipline a nervous system into maturity. You cannot consequence a brain into development. You can only support growth through relationship. This does not mean toddlers get whatever they want. Boundaries remain essential. But boundaries without regulation feel like rejection. Boundaries with regulation feel like safety. There is a difference. I won't let you hit, and I'm here with you while you're angry lands very differently in the brain than stop crying or you'll lose your toy. One message activates fear, the other builds trust. Over time, trust becomes regulation. This is why gentle parenting, when understood correctly, is not about being gentle with behavior, it's about informed by brain science. Gentle parenting is not permissive parenting, it's developmentally aligned parenting. It recognizes that toddlers are not miniature adults with poor impulse control, they are developing humans with immature neurological systems. The NIH and CDC both emphasize that early emotional experiences shape stress regulation systems well into adulthood. Children who experience chronic emotional invalidation show higher rates of anxiety, depression, and emotional reactivity later in life. Not because their parents were bad, but because their nervous systems adapted to an environment that felt unpredictable. This is where many parents feel relief when they learn the science, because it reframes the entire narrative. Your toddler is not difficult, their brain is developing. Your reactions are not ruining them, your relationship is shaping them. And shaping does not require perfection, it requires presence. Presence over performance. Not saying the perfect words, not staying calm all the time, but returning, repairing, regulating together. Emotional regulation in toddlers is a long game. It unfolds slowly, unevenly, and often invisibly. One day, seemingly out of nowhere, you notice your child taking a breath instead of collapsing, or using words instead of hands, or seeking comfort instead of control. Those moments are not random. They are the result of thousands of small interactions where their nervous system learned what safety feels like. This is why emotional